Hello YouTube. This is going to be the video I tried to make a while ago before I forgot what the hell I was going to say and whatever, and here it is. Um, Contrary to the name, I think this video is mainly going to be about basically what I believe in my actual political borns and social beliefs, because I think too often I get too pissed off about things I see and too caught up in what I'm talking about, and what I actually believe gets lost on everyone else, including somehow even myself. And it just becomes a shoot from the hip, this is my opinion type of thing. So this is going to be not getting me this time. This is going to be a video about my beliefs. And also, I want to say, watching secular talk, I think part of my problem with sometimes establishing myself as right or left or what I actually believe, I think comes back around to the fact that basically I'm a bit of a contrarian, and it's not an intentional thing, but somewhere along the line, instead of doing what a lot of people do and just kind of bring wholesale certain people or even entire groups, I kind of actually broke it down, and I break down what other people will say, and I try to say, okay, this is what I agree, this is what I disagree with, and I kind of do the right and the left the same way. So what I will do is, while I'm not intentionally trying to outwardly be a contrarian, or be contrary, or contrarian to different viewpoints, I do sometimes, often unintentionally, become that, and I will sometimes break apart an argument and actually do so in a way that is negative, and then I express that. I think people will take that as the, or trying when I'm left wing, or be more left wing even when I'm right wing, and I'm not doing that. I'm simply telling you the way I see things, and I think I do have a negative intention to be contrary to the popular viewpoint often, or even in some cases even the unpopular viewpoint. Even though I'm not necessarily trying to be, I do have a tendency to basically do that, and so I'm basically just really telling you the way I see the world, and it explains a lot of why I have such an odd worldview or point of view of the planet, where a lot of people are willing to kind of jump on the bandwagon of a movement. I'm not. And it's the same thing with other people. For example, and I'll just throw that out there. Or first, let me explain it this way. This is a 4-year-old video from Secular Talk that I agreed with, and actually he slightly changed my view back around on the wall. Obviously, I've been very against the wall. I don't want to see a wall. I think it would be a massive waste of money to spend $2 billion on a wall. But then again, we're constantly wasting money on everything anyways, and everyone wants work, they want employment, and the wall doesn't actually do anything. And beyond that, you're worried about your employment. So this would be a massive infrastructure program that would cost a lot in a normal country, $2 billion, but in a country where you just spent I don't know, what was it, $1 trillion more fucking dollars on the world's most expensive military, and no one, including most Democrats, even voted for so much as a 10% cut of the military. So we're now spending $1 trillion more dollars in that. In that country, it's not that much money. So sure, you know what, if people won't work and you're willing to work, hopefully you'll get paid what you're owed. But knowing this country, who knows? But you know what, it's a fucking wall. You're shoveling shit to make a wall, and you're doing it in the middle of nowhere, and it won't even work, but it'll put some people to work, and they won't work. Well, okay then, fine. So I'm actually not as against the wall anymore. It's just a fucking stupid wall. It'll give someone something to do, and they feel like they accomplished something. So have at it. But anyways, moving forward from that, he said something about a Tea Party for Democrats, and this was an old Gilmore ideal, and I actually do agree with that to the extent that you have like a Tea Party, that is to say, a collective left wing movement that is pushing for an ideal or a set of ideals that might even be further left than what some of the individuals would want, because that will be kind of balanced back out in the decision making process. But the thing is, you kind of did do that 4 years ago. And of course, this is an old video, but and this might not be his viewpoint anymore. But I have a disagreement there in that it depends on what it's about. If it's economic issues, even if it has something to do with overregulation, where perhaps maybe you don't think they should overregulate, it still makes more sense to push further in that direction. And I think this is ultimately what he's saying. But if it's the kind of virtue signaling social justice ring of the Democratic Party that don't really, or at least in the past, have not done enough to stand up against corporations, although at least as far as Black Lives Matters, I think they're doing quite a bit now. But in the past, they didn't do as much. And they're just going to be like male privilege, white privilege, every other fucking paragraph, and they have to keep throwing that into every sentence. And all they can do is attack white males. Then I don't support that, because they did try that. And if you remember back to 2017, they tried that really hard to a point of fucking absurdity, and only Trump only gained more popularity, and it only drove more people away, and it didn't work. Now, on the other end of that, I will say, or on the other hand, I can say very well, with some of these people, as I have talked about before, that are going into areas where people are protesting police brutality, for example, and some of them are coming armed, and they're what he calls TGFs, too far gone, or TFGs, too far gone, and they're going to believe in Trump no matter what, and they're defending police who are on record as having choked people to death, and they're doing exactly what Alex Jones did, and that's when they used to say we defend the Second Amendment because we need to defend against government oversight, overreach, government invasion and intrusion into personal lives, possibly concentration camps, that kind of thing. And then instead they take the guns and they go and they attack protesters who are protesting government brutality and police brutality, and they're attacking the very people protesting that. If you're talking about those people, I don't blame you for attacking those people, because they're too far gone, they're unreachable, they have just decided for whatever reason they agree with Trump, they're lemmings. That is a lemming, and there's no point. But I think it goes on said in some cases. There are plenty of those people on the left wing too, where the answer to every single fucking question is white privilege and male privilege, to the point of absolute fucking absurdity and stupidity. And I got way too off on that. But I do think a Tea Party would work if that Tea Party is pushing hard for, in almost that same mob mentality way. If you're really pushing for universal basic income, Medicare for all, Medicaid, universal health care, covering pre-existing conditions, regulating the police, LGBTQ rights, and I noticed that in the trending section of Twitter that I didn't like LGBTQ, it was LGBT. So I guess now we're not going to recognize Q people, although that could just have been a kind of exception. They just pushed that. I don't know. But the point is LGBTQ rights, rights for transgender people, bathroom rights. Those are things that I would get behind. But even if you just wanted to keep it strictly to economic issues, like I said, universal basic income, right now during a pandemic and an economic decline that has to do with the pandemic as well, they are like half the country, the last time I checked, that might be out of their houses, out of rent. I think that it's fairly acceptable to bail those people out the way we have corporations and banks. And standing up to these corporations and banks that are getting what amounts to corporate welfare while they're totally smashing the populist welfare, the poor people and the lower classes welfare, including for a lot of these white people and other people, whether they understand it or they don't. A lot of these same white Trump supporters are probably on the negative end of the economic scale, and they're still continuing to support Trump and support this shit. So I don't understand that, and I just got way too much into that. On the issue, another thing I want to say, and I'm glad I didn't talk about it when it came out because it's a trivial bunch of shit that I don't care about. There was this asshole, Yoo-hoo, Yo-ho, whatever the hell his name is. Um, Speaking of that, you remember that chocolate drink, Yoo-hoo? I ain't had one of those in years. I would like one. I don't know why. The point is, he said AOC, Alexandria Cortez, was a bitch. Now, of course, I want to say, first of all, this has nothing to do with my opinion of the two people, because I think this Yoho is a reprehensible fascist rat-like prick, and I don't like him. And he has come out against universal basic income, and he has in the past said before he was on food stamps, and he has actually even said he knows what it's like to be poor, and it sucked, and yet he has also supported cutting food stamps. So he's a fucking prick. And I don't feel that way about Alexandra Cortez, and I have praised her before, and I think she is basically a decent human being with a lot of good ideals, and I'm not attacking her at all here. But her statement is just total nonsense. Now, her original statement that I agree with is that if you want to decrease crime, then you have to see to it people have basic necessities covered. People are given better education. People have a future, because if you have nothing to lose and maybe even a little bit to gain, in some cases, especially if it's food and shelter, maybe it's someone that in some cases, and increasingly now with this pandemic, might not have any possibly shelter even. But even if it's just some stupid TV they're stealing, well, they're going to be more likely to do that if you're not going to help them, if you're not going to cover some basic necessities, if you're not going to see to it that children are brought up in a better environment, that they're not raised poor, and if you're not educating them and you're not doing that, then they're more likely to commit a crime. That's my understanding of her original statement. This piece of shit called her a bitch. Now, here's where this flips a little bit. While obviously I don't like him, she says it's improper and inappropriate to call her a bitch because you're making the statement that all women are a bitch, and you're opening it up to call other women a bitch. That's bullshit. Because I've done this, and I'm sure she has done this. Whenever I'm calling, well, I'm not going to say anyone, by the way, because I'm sure some people would. I mean, I'm sure there's people out there who think that way. But that's not what I'm doing. If I'm going to say that a woman is a bitch, it's probably because she said something to me and I'm pissed, so I'm just saying that to her. And that's not what happened here, but I'm just saying this statement is illogical and bears no logic. So it's like, that's that kind of retarded left wing that doesn't bear any logic. And not that she is that, but that's an example. This is a horrible example of this, but that was something that happened that I thought was just fucking absolutely absurd. Because while I have no idea what this guy believes, and this has nothing to do with either one of these two people or the initial issue, and obviously he shouldn't have done that. And the correct response would be to just fucking cuss him out the same way. But to say that you're holding all women, because if that's the case, well, if you're saying I'm an asshole right now, and I think if you are saying that, anyone out there, that's because you disagree with me, you don't have an answer, and it's just easier to basically oversimplify what I'm saying until you don't like me. So you're going to say that, and that's fine if you want to. I don't give a shit. But you're still saying it about me. You're not saying it about all men. If you said I was an asshole, a prick, or any other word possible. Same thing for women, or if you wanted to really go ridiculous, the entire human species. You could technically say, well, I don't like this person. Well, do you hate humans? That's stupid. So I just disagree with that point. And that kind of, I guess, trying to tie this back in with what I was talking about, that's that kind of left wing that is absurd. But as far as what I like, the left wing that I actually fucking agree with versus the right wing that is this mind-boggling nonsense, and I got way off track, and I could have made my argument better again, and I fucked it up, but whatever. I agree with basically, first of all, just a broad issue, LGBTQ rights, all of them. And I also agree with some of the people on the far left of even the feminist spectrum, at least what they say they believe, that gender is largely a spectrum that somebody can be on and can kind of swing from one end to the other depending upon who they are and what their personality is. Spectrum of gender for people and non-binary people, and I think in Canada, regardless of what you think of the guy, knowing some things about him, Justin Purdue did, or I think his name was Purdue, I don't know. Anyways, he did propose the ideal of 50 something genders that to me is increasing human freedom and human identity range, that you're not going to be trapped with an identity. And I think that's a positive versus a negative. And I agree with that. And but beyond that is posed, let's focus specifically on the most oppressed group, I think, as I have done before. You know my views on this. I think with transgender people, they should have rights to transgender equal bathroom use. They should use the bathroom that fits the current identity they have. I believe that transgender people should have the rights to play on the sports that they identify as. This might be unpopular. I think locker room rights, you want to, unless you want to change the way locker rooms are done, and maybe you do. God, there, wonderful. How broke I am? I can't get a new webcam. Anyways, white privilege. Anyways, I think that as far as locker rooms go, unless you want to change the way it's done and just give everybody individual locker room, and that would be impossible. I don't think a transgender person using the locker rooms, and I don't know anything about locker rooms. I don't know how it works. I'm antisocial, always have been. I abhor the human population. I'm not going to lie, but I'm sure there's a way you could do that in some semi-comfortable way for the person and the people around them. And if not, then maybe you can do something else. I don't know. That's your fucking chores. But hey, look, yeah, they have a penis. I don't think it's gonna fucking putting one's eye out. Like, whatever. Gay gay marriage, I support. I support gay adoption rights. I support basically all of them. I support gay people serving the military, transgender people serving the military. I support, at the very least, most of, if not all of the transgender medical benefits, things, sex change, or whatever else they decide they need if they want it, and if they don't, they don't. That Trump got rid of. I support transgender people serving the military, and I'm gonna get off the gender shit because I don't have but 2 more minutes here or something like that. I support economics, universal basic income. I just went through that. Medicare for all, Medicaid for all, or whatever, Medicaid rights, and I support universal health care, so forth, all of that. I support maternity leave, and I'm not going to go into men's rights and all that shit, but I don't see why you can't have a paternity leave and give the father at least a little bit of time off too, but whatever. This isn't really necessarily a left-wing issue, but I am against child genital mutilation of male or females. I don't think you should be able to circumcise male children if they don't want to be, or females. I don't think you should be able to pierce a girl's ears until they're ready to have their ears pierced. I support religious freedom, but not retarded religious freedom, like I just said there, basically. And basically, I'm left-wing on most issues because I'm running out of time. I support marijuana legalization, releasing nonviolent felons. These are valid, legitimate left-wing issues. And I don't see how you can be a poor person, white, black, or anything else, male or female, and not basically be a social democrat at this point. And if you are, then I can see why a lot of people don't like you. And leave it there. Be 666.